A reading from the Gospel of Matthew. When Jesus had come down from the mountain, great crowds followed him, and there was a leper who came to him and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, if you choose, you can make me clean." He stretched out his hands and touched him, saying, "I do choose, be made clean." Immediately his leprosy was cleansed. Then Jesus said to him, "See that you say nothing to anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded as a testimony to them." A miraculous healing of a terrible disease. It sounds so wonderful and so simple. Jesus has met someone who's sick and he's cured them. But it wasn't as simple as that, and if we stay at the level that this is just a story about a healing, we've missed something very significant. If Matthew had wanted to keep it that simple, we wouldn't have had the last of those 4 verses, the instruction to go to the priest and to follow the law of Moses. Because that changes things, and it elevates what Jesus is doing way beyond a simple healing. Jesus is on a roll as this story begins. He's just preached what we know as the Sermon on the Mount. He's been setting out a radical approach to how you live with God, how you live with others in society and community, even to how you live with yourself. Jesus has been astounding people because he is setting things on their head, and he's doing it with an authority that is palpable. "You have heard that it was said, but I say to you." Time and time again, he is saying to people, don't think your current standards of behaviour are good in God's eyes. Think again. Go one better. In everything, do to others as you would have them do to you, for this is the law and the prophets. And then he comes down the mountain and he's able to demonstrate immediately what all of this theory looks like in practice. Because this isn't a story about a healing so much as a story about dealing with exclusion and oppression. At this moment in time, we've been reminded far more powerfully than we would have liked about the nature of infectious disease. And leprosy was and is an infectious disease. It is, of course, very considerably less infectious than the coronavirus, and it needs way more extensive contact to spread it than COVID-19. But the implications of leprosy 2,000 years ago were utter exclusion from society. Lepers were oppressed, lepers were excluded, and if something needed cleansing or healing for Jesus, it was this. That's why Jesus chooses to act. That's why Jesus sends the leper, who has been cleansed, to the priest. For it was the priest who could declare that this child of God could and should be integrated, reintegrated properly into society and made an equal member of it. In this context, it was the priest, backed by the legal power of the Torah, who could cancel out the exclusion and oppression wrought on this person by a society which had literally pushed him to the edges. In everything, do to others as you would have them do to you. Rayshard Brooks, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. 3 names from a list hideously too long to recite in full. 3 names of people who were not extended the divine dignity that Jesus declares to be the summary of the law and the prophets only minutes before he encounters the man suffering from leprosy. You have heard that it was said, but I say to you. And so Jesus gives us an example of what it looks like to end oppression and exclusion for one person who knew way too much about it. Let's hope that we will choose to have the grace and the courage to follow that example. Amen.